And then if that's all right, so everybody knows we are being recorded.
All right. Ready to go.
All right. And when you're off mute, Lexi, that's when there's this weird feedback. So there must be something going on there. All right. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for joining here today. Talking about the 7 strategies that work together to double your business profits. Might sound like it's impossible, but we'll get through the end. You'll all see how that is actually doable. First of all, I'd like to also thank the Metro South Chamber of Commerce for having me here today. And to remind everybody, the session is being recorded. So if you miss anything, you can go back and watch the recording again or send it on to your friends. And also, if you're doing a plug for your business, remember that plug will get recorded and passed on. So always keep that in mind with our comments and things, that make sure you're saying things that you're comfortable that other people would hear. And because it's not just us, we don't know who will eventually be listening in on the recording. So first thing, I'll just introduce myself so you all know who's been speaking with you today. My name is Bernhard Heine. I started out my career as an engineer, went to the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy, and spent 6 years working as a marine engineer building ships, mostly large commercial ships like container ships, and lots of time in Japan, Korea, and various places in Europe, and in a few shipyards in the United States, but a lot of most shipbuildings over in Asia. Then I went to Harvard Business School, got my MBA, and then I worked with the Boston Consulting Group, which is a big management consulting firm over in Germany. And that's where I met my wife, and our kids were born while I was over there. Ended up almost 10 years in Germany because I transitioned from there to Coca-Cola, where I was doing lots of different jobs, but mostly I was sort of their strategy person in Germany. And then we moved back here to the United States 21 years ago next week. And I worked at Textron for 8 years. I was their head of strategy, strategic planning, business development kind of roles. And then almost 10 years ago, I left there and started my own business, Professional Business Coaches, where I love to help business leaders achieve their dreams. So it's about helping them, one-on-one coaching. We do a lot of group things, facilitation, team building, training work, and I'm certified and licensed in many different tools, including Everything Disc, which, as you know, is a free offer for everybody here that's attending. Today we'll get access to taking one of those analyses. I'll talk more about that later. And you know, welcome to the new normal, right? This would have normally been, we would have been in some conference room somewhere, maybe at the chamber or maybe at one of your offices hosting an event like this, but here we are on video. And so just want to encourage everybody to use the chat feature. Lexi will be monitoring that in case I miss things, because sometimes it's hard to be doing a presentation and paying attention to that. Or you can just interrupt me directly if you have a burning issue. Please do that. We're a small enough group that we can easily accommodate everyone getting points in, because I love my presentations to be very interactive. I want it to be a lot about you and have you talking, not just me talking at you for the next hour. And I'd really encourage you to take notes, plan on taking future action, right? So that this isn't just a thing you attended and forgot about, but there's something that it will be memorable that will help you work towards achieving that goal of doubling your profits. And just as a practice, if everybody can find the chat feature, and then sometimes it's hidden behind 3 little dots, sometimes it's directly obvious on your screen, go into the chat, make sure you select everyone and not just the presenter, and type in where you're, just the town that you're from, just so we all get an idea where everybody's at right now. Brockton, Holbrook, Easton, yeah, Braintree, Abington, nice. Very nice. So gets an idea where everybody's at. And next thing I'd like to know, another Brockton, one of the cool things we can do with this online feature, which is very nice, is we can run these polls. And so we're going to just do a couple of polls just to get a sense of who you all are and also where your business at. But the very first one is, what's your role? So Lexi, if you wouldn't mind starting the first poll. And when you think everyone's voted, you can close the poll and then share the result.
Yeah, you have about 70%.
Oh. Just have to click on and make sure you hit submit. So you select it, and then down below that is a button to submit. Make sure you hit that. All right, so why don't you close that and share the results, see where everybody is. All right, so we've got mostly business owners and employees. No students, nobody unemployed or furloughed. That's good news, right? Sometimes I've had done a couple of these where a lot of people were unfortunately unemployed or furloughed. So good that everybody's gainfully employed. The next question I have is, and this will be the second poll, Lexi, is what's been the impact on your business of this whole COVID-19 problem? Business is running fine, revenues are flat or even growing, no issues. Or the second one would be, well, it's sort of normal, but we're certainly down, but not down more than 50%. Or significantly disrupted, more than 50% down in revenues, or you're completely closed, can't work at all. And then you can select the second thing, which is, well, it was bad, but you're back open now and things are picking up. So you can vote on those, just get an idea where everybody's at. All right, so 20% of you had sort of normal. All right, and unfortunately nobody is in the businesses either flat or growing. I have a couple of clients that are fortunate enough to be in that space where their business is just rock solid. They're in a place that's working well, but significantly disrupted, 60%. Wow, yeah. And closed down completely, 40%. Wow. So that's so we all need great strategies now. So you're at the right place to figure out how we're going to turn this around fast and get things moving. Now, the last poll we're going to do is just what's the percentage of your staff that's working remotely? So from your teams, or is it 100%, 75%, 50%? Or nobody works remote, everybody can only work on site? And it's right now, not necessarily what the normal was in the past, but right now, where are you at in terms of working remotely? Wow, yeah, 40%, 100%, huh? And 40%, 25%. Huh? And some of you have no one remotely. Yeah? So gives an idea of where we're at in terms of a group. So thank you very much for doing that. And now, let me see, we have, yeah. So in the chat feature, your name should be there, but if your name isn't quite right, like you want to have it, you can go in and edit that, right? You can name yourself, but it looks like everybody's got a normal name. Sometimes people have like a phone number listed, but that's great. If you, in the chat, if you could put down your business and one thing you'd like to get out of today's workshop, what were you expecting to get from today? Oh, a question somebody had, what business is flat or growing? I have an architectural client. They're a design architecture design firm, engineering and design work for building multifamily buildings. They're totally busy, flat out. business has not stopped at all. In fact, it's grown a little bit because the construction has stopped. So people are moving the design work forward and saying, hey, this project, we weren't going to start it till the fall, but can you work on it now? So they're totally busy. I have another client that does measurements of sewage systems for towns, municipalities, those things. No change in their business whatsoever. All that kind of infrastructure stuff still needs to go on, regardless of what's happening with the rest of the world. So some industries are completely unaffected or even doing well in this environment. Yeah. Thank you. Had to double the business when we rely on membership fees. Yeah. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. In fact, my newsletter, which I'm writing, which I'm sending out this afternoon, which if anybody wants to be part of it, just let me know. I can add you to the list quick, is going to actually address that topic a little bit about how people are getting back into business, thinking about that. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the whole no touch thing is, it's complicated. Yeah. I have a company that I'm on their advisory board, and they do software for nightclubs. And totally coincidentally, they have the absolute touchless system for restaurants, because everything is handled on your own phone. The menu of the venue is on the phone. You order stuff on the phone. You pay for it. There is zero contact. You can do it from your home before you even arrive, or while you're sitting there in the evening, just order stuff. That's their software, and it's so perfect right now for this touchless environment. But yeah. All right. Great, Karen. I'll put you in the newsletter. Yeah, profitability. That's what we're going to be talking about. Yeah. And growing the business. So you're all in the right place. That's exactly the things we're going to be talking about. I hope everybody had a chance to also read what others said in the chat. So at the very end, I'm going to show this slide again, but just so you know, I like to challenge people to tell me what their top action items are that they're taking away, like those things you just wrote down, if you're going to actually end up coming up with some good ideas for those things. Because when you tell somebody else what you're going to do, there's a higher likelihood that you're actually going to do it, versus if you just write it down for yourself, put it in the paper and put it in a drawer and it goes away. So just being active with that. And also if you want to have a copy of the slides, although you'll all have a copy to the recording anyway. So, and I'll also talk about this free disc that everybody has. And of course, if you want, I'm very happy to do a coaching session with anybody on the call as a follow-up. My pleasure. But I'll show you this again at the very end. I just wanted to point out now that this is coming. So now let's dive into the topic here. So the 7 strategies, it's really how to energize your business. You can double your profits. And I'm going to talk about these 7 strategic areas that all work together to kind of energize the performance of all businesses. And identifying, engaging in these essential building blocks, right, allows us to understand and enhance our control of the business. And the great things about these building blocks is that they apply to any business. They're completely universal. Every business works like this. And so understanding and putting this information to work in your business, you can get a plan of action to help you actually achieve that. And as you all pointed out, now more than ever, we really need a boost, right? So this is an overview of the model. And we'll come back to it as we transition from one to the other. So I'm just going to very briefly take you through it right now. So we have these 7 steps, which are in these little red numbers. So the first one we'll talk about is, how do we get more new clients to be interested in our business? Just get prospects in the door. And whether it's in the door, like it's a retail shop in the door, or whether they're contacting you online, just how do we attract new people to our business? Second one is, how do we get our existing customers to come back more often? And the third one is, what do we do about getting past customers to come back? And then the next part is, once we have these people coming to us, how do we get them to buy? Not just to be there and look through the windows, but actually to buy things from us. And then the fifth part of this is, that gives us our total transactions. And then now we want to do things to increase the average dollar sale, because how much they buy times the transactions, that's what gives us our total revenue for the business. So that those things all help us boost our revenue. And then to keep money, we need to have low costs. So what do we do to improve our gross margins on our business? And that gives us our gross profit. And then finally, we have to look at ways to reduce fixed costs so that we keep more of that money in the gross profit, and that becomes our net profit. So these are the 7 areas that we're going to talk about that all work together to drive higher net profits. So let's start on this, which is, I'm starting at the end. So I'd like you all to either take a screenshot of this or jot this down briefly on a notepad, so that you're taking notes on each one of these 7 items, and put down, after we've talked about it, what is it that you want to do about this for your business? What's the action plan you're going to commit to? And then if you can think of a due date, put down a due date. So this is something I want to work on right now. I want to get this done by next week, or, well, this is an important topic, but maybe it'll be next month, or maybe it'll be 3 months from now, but it's something I don't want to forget. Let me put that on the calendar to work on that. So have this action plan. I mean, sorry, if we were face-to-face, I'd be handing this material out to you right now, but hopefully you can do this online. Like I say, take a screenshot of it, or just jot it down on a pad, so that you have the 7, it's the 7 steps, and then the 8th thing is just implementation ideas that might have come to you about how to put this together. But so if everybody has that, I'll give you a second to have something jotted down, then we can dive right in to the first strategy, which is about how do we get contacts, leads, referrals, how do we get visits from prospects, from new people entering our business. And the big difference here is, do I have benefit-focused marketing? And I want you to think about that for a minute with your business. Does your marketing state a clear benefit to the client? Or do you just talk about how wonderful you are and what an amazing business you have? So a lot of businesses suffer from a thing we call me-itis. You know, it doesn't really pass the so what test. It's like, hey, we've been around for 20 years and we're amazing and we're this great company, and, you know, buy our stuff, and we use the best products and we use the best raw materials, buy our stuff. Versus, what's the benefit to the customer of using your stuff? So the question I have for you is, what could you change if you don't already have awesome benefit-focused marketing? What could you change in your marketing to communicate a clear benefit to your prospects? So if people want to come off mute, please feel free to do that, or chat something. Maybe talk about what your marketing currently looks like. Do you already have some good examples of where you're benefit focused, or what might be different? What might you want to change? This is the part of the participation.
So for me, that is what I'm looking for, is creativity, because I'm in an industry where we really can't put out what the benefits are. CBD, you're not allowed to do that. So we have to be very careful with what we're putting out there on social media. And I need help with creativity.
Well, let's start with that. You say you can't talk about the benefits. Can you talk about the benefits of doing business with you? I mean, you're not the only business in the state that sells this product. So why you? Why your company versus the other one? Those benefits you can talk about, right?
Okay.
You can't make medical claims and say, take this and it'll cure cancer, right? But what are things that you do that are special that really benefit the customer? How is their experience with you impacted?
Okay, that's a great.
Right. What are some of those things? What are things that you do that might be different?
Well, one of the most important pieces that's definitely different is the education piece. We are really big on educating the customers when they come into our store. So we're really not about selling. It's more about educating and teaching them what it is, what it does, and all that kind of stuff. So
and how does that benefit the customer? What benefit do they get out of that?
So many people have said, I've learned more today from this small amount of time with you than I have in the past 2 years trying to figure it out on my own. So they're so grateful because they understand what it is, what it does to the body, and why they need, why they would want even to use our products.
Yeah. So that's a great testimonial, right? Which is another thing. So there's a really good book by the name of Doug Hall, and it's called Jumpstart Your Business Brain. And he talks about the 3 most important elements of a marketing message. And this is the first one. It needs to have overt benefits so that it hits you right between the eyes. You see it, it's like, that's exactly what I'm looking for, right? That your prospects, your target market, not everybody on the planet, but the people that you want to have as customers, read it and say, wow, that's me. I need that now. And then the other 2 parts of it are the one you just were kind of bringing up, which is things like testimonials. So a reason to believe that marketing message, right? There's a testimonial. We've been in business for a long time, right? There's something that other people are saying about why you're a great company to work with. And then the third one is the dramatic difference. And you were also alluding to that a little bit, that you said, well, that's where you're a big differentiator from the others, is that you take the time to explain it to people so that they get that. So using those 3 tools in your marketing message those are the most important to make a big difference in having people respond to your marketing.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Anybody else, like what benefit do you have already, or you're looking to add to your marketing messages? Everybody else is quiet.
Yeah, so for our business, fitness and weight loss, we're in kind of a similar position to Lynn, where we primarily market on Facebook, but they're very, very limited in what they let you talk about for weight loss in terms of like any sort of promises or claims you make.
Right.
So we've been trying to focus more on just sort of like high level education as to what we are, because we're a very new franchise. So we're not a Planet Fitness where you see Planet Fitness and everyone pretty much knows what he is. Yeah. So just kind of focusing on the fact that we're more of a program than a gym. And we're sort of, I guess you could say, like the gym for people who don't like gyms, that have issues with various aspects of the gym. We consider ourselves sort of much friendlier. There's a lot more hands-on attention. It's smaller. It's geared for a more mature, older clientele. And it is the program. So the members don't have to figure out a lot of things for themselves like you would at a gym, right? You go into a gym and it's like, all right, have fun. And then it's like, oh, what am I doing? What machine am I on? How many reps do I do? What's the weight? So we have a whole onboarding process where we figure that out. And so a lot of our challenge is sort of taking this thing that isn't terribly complicated, but there's a decent amount of detail to it, trying to figure out how to condense that into something you can put in an image or a short video or whatnot, where you can easily communicate, kind of what we are and how we are different.
Yeah.
And so that's what we've been sort of, I guess, up to this point, kind of playing around and try to, changing how we're doing the marketing to try to, communicate what we are in a concise way. And we've been kind of experimenting with that thus far.
And think about why you. What is it that they're coming to you for? The benefit they get from you, and it's the same thing as Lynn was saying. You can't say, "Oh, work with us and you'll lose 30 pounds in 2 weeks," or you don't want to make those kinds of claims. You'd have to do thousands of studies to be able to back that up. Yeah. But what other things do you make it easy, for them to do business with you? Do you, you're educating them, all those kind of things that make them say, like, yeah, that's the place I want to go. Right? That's me. You're talking to me right now, right? The marketing message needs to be narrow enough that it doesn't speak to everybody, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to speak to everybody. You want your target market to be excited about it. If other people come, that's great too, but you want to excite somebody, and that's your target.
Awesome. If I could just
Karen.
add, I just wanted to add to that. So I belonged to a small gym before this started. I've been there for quite a while, and they didn't really offer anything like, once this happened, they didn't offer anything like online or any type of support that way. And I've been like doing my own stuff in my basement, and it's kind of hard to push yourself to do that. So I've had other like places around my town that have like reached out and offered like trial classes or different things. And I think going forward, this isn't going to be the first time that we're not going to be able to do these things in person. So for me, I think I would suggest to Mike to, if they have that capability, that they share that they're available remotely, because I think that's important to a lot of people.
Yeah, no, that's really good advice. We've done that to a limited degree. Up till this point, we've only been in pre-sale, so we haven't finished our build out of the location. So we have relatively limited membership at this point, but we have been offering that both in terms of, providing, video workouts, and then also being available on Zoom to do the nutrition and weight loss consultations.
Perfect.
Yeah, so that's worked out pretty well, and I think we'd be focusing a lot more on that had we been open for a while and had, hundreds and hundreds of members. And so for us right now, it's something I guess you could say, dabbled in. And I think moving forward, I think it does make a lot of sense to continue to try to build out that capability for, online workouts, one-on-one virtual personal training and things like that. I think that's good advice.
All right. Thank you for that discussion on that. And then just to round out this topic here, what are other things we can do? You can have referral reward programs, right? Hey, bring a friend, right? Those kinds of things work very well, because people trust people that they already trust people about your business. You're talking about your business because if they already trust each other, right? Implement networking strategies, right? Identify untapped niche or market. Maybe there's a specific segment of the market that would be good to go after, or strategic alliances with others who don't serve the same market, but they have the same target market of people, but it's a different product. So you can work with them and get some alliance things. The success ingredient here on this program is consistently utilize at least 10 clearly defined benefit-driven marketing strategies, right? Do you have at least 10 different strategies that you're working all the time? And it's not that you want to change them out continuously, but that you're monitoring at least on a monthly basis, looking at all 10 strategies. What are we doing? What's working? What's not working? Give it a little more time. No, cut it off. Put the money somewhere else, right? And Facebook is like one marketing strategy. Your website's another one. Maybe you're in a networking group is another one. These are all different types of marketing strategies, right?
Bernie, can I just jump in?
Yeah, go ahead.
We had someone in the chat.
Yeah.
So Joanne from the flower shop.
Yeah.
She mentioned that they have a flower shop who has been in business for many years. They have great experience. They advise their customers, educate them about the importance of flowers and what's appropriate. And they also do customize arrangements. But she was kind of saying that they could use a more up-to-date and sexier pitch.
And when you do that, make sure you take this idea of benefits into account, right? So sometimes just making it more flashy might be interesting, but people don't know who you are. Sometimes ad agencies go a little overboard when and they have these really cool things, and it's but it doesn't have anything to do with my product, right? So make sure you focus on those three things that Doug Hall talks about, which is benefits, right? Overt benefit, real reason to believe, and dramatic difference. So whatever new ad copy you come up with, if you hire some consultant to do that for you, always ask yourself those three key questions, right? Overt benefit, real reason to believe, and does it show a dramatic difference versus the competition? If you can answer those three questions with the ad copy, you'll be much better off than if you ignore those questions. So let me move on to the next one. So number 2, whoops.
Could I add one quick thing to Joanne?
Yeah, sure.
We had a really cool thing where a florist in our town went around with a truck, and she had herbs and flowers, and she would come to neighborhoods if people said they were looking for stuff. And that was really different. And she got a lot of people who didn't want to, go to the flower shop or things like that. And she had fresh flowers in buckets too, so you could build your own arrangement. And if you wanted to put your own vase outside, she would fill it and leave it for you.
Yeah, very clever idea. Yeah. All right. So what about visits from existing customers, right? And so what do we do here? The big difference is keeping in touch, establishing a two-way communication with your customers. You know, let them know what's up, what's coming, promote complementary products or services, or ask them to come back for more of the things that they already like. The question I have for you here is, what methods can you use to keep in touch with your existing customers? Any ideas there on ways you stand? And I already mentioned mine, which is the newsletter, which thank you. Many of you in the chat said you want to get on my newsletter list. That's certainly one way.
Yeah, so for us, we've been primarily focused on our Facebook page and communicating information out through that, as well as emailing all our existing members kind of the key updates on, you know, where we're at with the build out, what the latest news is from the governor on when we'll be allowed to open, things like that. And we have done a little bit of sort of requests for two-way communication, but I do think that's a good signal, because I think focus on disseminating like status and information as opposed to like trying to really get like a back and forth communication with the members. So I think that's something for us to definitely think more about.
Yeah. How do you get them to interact with that message so that you get some feedback on it? Yeah. No, that's a great point. Thank you. And some other things are regular upgrades on the product or the service. That's what you were just talking about, Mike. I mean, you're doing an upgrade, right, to the whole business based on the new environment. Maybe some closed door sales or some client only sales, right? Just special things for your existing clients. A repeat customer loyalty program. That's a little bit like, I think, Karen, where you were getting at with the florist driving around, putting flowers out. That might be to your existing customers that you have this relationship with, and you can do a special deal with them on that. The success ingredient here is, do you have a customer database? I mean, are you using a CRM system, you know, an automated system? Do you have an Excel spreadsheet? How do you keep track of everybody? And do you keep track of the interactions based on your perceived importance of that customer to your business? You know, do you look at, this is my target market. I get the best margins out of this group of people. I really have to pay attention to this group of people. These people, you know, and then maybe A, B, and C clients, however you want to look at it. But, you know, some people, it's fine if they just get your newsletter once a month or something. But maybe others, they need a phone call or a face-to-face meeting, or you take them out to lunch. You know, you take them fishing, right? What level do you want to expend effort on each one of your different customer segments? And, you know, maybe some of them you write a personal note to every now and then. Say, hey, thank you for being a loyal customer. I love you. You know, it's been great. You've been with us for so many years. And, you know, some people are completely flattered by that, and you've just won a raving fan, you know, by having that personal interaction with them. But you can't do that with everybody, right? If you have hundreds of customers, you'll go crazy trying to do that with everybody. But some things you can do with everybody, and other things you need to be selective. But if you don't have that customer database, you lose track of who I've talked to recently, right? So this way you kind of know what your strategy is for each type of your customers and what you're doing with them. So that's the customer database. That's the key here. So the third strategy is, what about past customers? How do we get people to come back that have left us? And the big difference here is just find out why they left. What's the real reason that they left? And if you have a good customer service system, you'll be tracking things like this feedback. You'll maybe be doing surveys or phone calls like, oh, I'm so sorry to see you leave us. What could we have done differently, right? So the question here is, how can you improve your customer service system to be sure you're getting that kind of data? Maybe you already have it. You have an awesome system and it works perfectly. Or maybe this is a thing to consider. Have you ever done that? So what's the reaction on that question?
So Bernie, for the chamber, you know, we met a couple times as a board virtually, and we decided that, you know, we were doing things that we thought helped people, but we wanted to know, what do our members want from us? Because we wanted to address any of those. So out of 150 members, I sent one newsletter, one follow-up email, posted it on LinkedIn and Facebook, and got 2 responses. But I reached out to those 2 people that had specific things that they said we could help them with. And I think other people like just thanked me for, they didn't know what they needed or they didn't have anything specific, but thanked me for at least asking that.
Yeah.
But I thought that was a pretty poor response.
It's hard.
Yeah.
People get so many surveys, they just like click delete. It's easier to delete than get involved. But you could call them. Have you ever called past members and asked them why they've left?
Whenever someone leaves, I ask if I say, do you mind telling me why, you're not a member? And, if it's something that we can address, we do, and we addressed it for future things. And sometimes we'll talk to them and say, like, can you give us a little extra time to see if we can fix what a lot of it's that they don't get involved. And I'll usually say, like, you didn't go to these last 4 events, but so I can see where you don't feel you're getting the value. But then I might suggest, like, could you come to our next couple and just so you see for yourself. And sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
Yeah. It's hard with those. I was an ambassador with the South Shore Chamber for about 6 years. And one of the things that we had used to do was call all the people who have left, like within a year or so, like they're gone, and just strike up a conversation with them just to find out, what is it that what is it that they didn't get out of being a member? What was this? It sounds like you're also doing that program, but we had a large group of people doing it, so it wasn't just one person tasked with that. But,
yeah, we did call every member when this first happened and just checked in and just said we want to see how you're doing and all that, and that was really well. People really appreciated that.
Nice. Yeah, staying in touch. Absolutely. That was back to that other thing about the two-way communication. That is a great example of that's real two-way communication when you call everyone. Right? Some other things to get back past customers, maybe win them back with a special offer, or develop a product or a product line or a service offering or something that's tailored to their needs. Does it make sense? If you want to go there, sometimes people leave and you're fine that they left because you don't want to go into that new business. They want something that you don't offer. It's not core to your business. You're not going to start up a whole new business just for that. If it's not worth it, don't do it. Let somebody else do that, right? But if it is worth it, if it's something that makes sense for you, maybe it's just a small tweak or an add-on to what you're already doing, and you can keep that whole segment. So the point here is the implementing, as you're doing, Karen, a customer feedback system where you're establishing that feedback loop so that what's happening with them, right? Why they left. So the next thing I was talking about is, so now we have all these people rushing to do business with us. How do we get those people to actually do business with us? So to get that percentage of people that contact us that might click on our link or show up on our Facebook page, but how do we get them to actually buy? And the big difference here is, are you using a selling system? And a selling system, do you have a flow charted out sales process? Do you have scripts that you've worked out, techniques? Are you using tools for tracking the results? I mean, you're really running sales like a professional sales organization, or are you just winging it? And quite often companies don't put a lot of effort into here because they're maybe a small business and they think, oh, we don't need this. Every business needs to have a sales process if they want to sell. So how does this fit any of you? Do you already have great sales systems, or is this an area of potential improvement? And there's several people on the line that I believe are just on the phone. Feel free to dive in. I know the conversation has mostly been with those that we're seeing on video, but if you're just listening in, feel free to come off mute and make a comment if you like. Oh, and thank you, Sherry, for your point from the construction industry that you chatted in. Thank you for that. Yeah. Anyone else? Well, I can move on. I know we're going to run out of time if we take too much time on each one. But other strategies are, and this is a key thing in selling, is proactive listening, right? It's not so much about doing all the talking in a sales pitch. It's about listening to the needs of your customers so that you can actually understand which of those benefits you can enact that you have in your marketing strategy, right? What is it that they really need? Remove obstacles to buying. You know, we talked about that a little bit earlier on about the touchless purchasing, right? Right now, people are afraid to touch things. And like I mentioned, this company I work with, they have a complete touchless system for bars and nightclubs, but I'm sure we're going to see that in a lot of restaurants are going to pick up on the same thing to avoid touching it, you know, and you just do it all online. So many companies now, you order it online, pick it up on curbside pickup, those kind of things. And in the worst case, it's a downsell. You know, maybe you don't sell them your number one product, your best thing, but maybe there's a little thing you can sell them, because somebody that becomes a customer, even in a small way, has the potential to become a larger company later on once they realize how amazing you are to do business with. The success ingredient here is really the sales system. If you have a really well thought out sales system, so you know how many people are suspects, prospects, how many people are in the funnel that you're working, calling back, following up with, closing and treating as a new customer. You know, what does that pipeline look like? And are you managing it professionally, or is it just sort of happening? So I'd like to move on to the fifth one now, which is, so now we got all these people that are buying from us. How do we improve the average dollar sale? Because that's going to give us our revenue number, right? So the big difference is upsells and add-ons. So if you have a good selling system, you'll be poking around at some underlying unexpressed needs or wants, or you create them through the questions you ask. I don't suppose you've thought about it this way, or how do you handle these kinds of issues, right? How do you go about doing this? You ask the right questions and you lead the prospect towards something even bigger, some bigger part of what you can do to sell them, because maybe they've already bought one piece, but what about all the other things your company offers, right? And, you know, do you have products or services that you can use as upsells and add-ons in your system? So what are the kind of things that you guys have for upsells and add-ons already? Quiet. You know, the classic, well, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so for us, our add-ons are the personal training is an additional add-on. We also, at least historically, have done boot camps. We have to figure out how to do that now safely. And then also our food products are effectively add-ons as well, if people are interested in that.
And Karen, I'm sure you have your add-ons or things like people can do marketing on the website, right? They can just be a member, or they can step up a level and be a sponsor and sponsor a breakfast, or
yeah, they can do stuff like that. And again, like right now, we're not doing any in-person events. We had 2 virtual business after hours, but we have not had, you know, any in-person events. But yeah, when we do have fundraisers or things like that, people can, you know, pay to be sponsors and have their signage everywhere.
Yeah, and Joanne just chatted in. Yeah, chocolates, like that idea, right? Handwritten greeting cards, those things. Great idea, right? Just little things you can add. That the key on the upsells and add-ons are that they shouldn't cost you very much, but they should give a lot of value to the client. Just like service with a smile is the most important thing that we always offer our clients, because if we smile when we're with them, they're happy. It costs us nothing, but it adds a lot of value because it makes the client feel better about the relationship, right? Better about working with you. So what things can you add that may cost you very little to add, but have huge margins when you add those things on? And you know, some other things is exclusives and specials to your target market. So you have a particular thing that's just for them. Support the upsell tactic with easy payment options. We see that on online things all the time. Hey, you just add another $5 and then you can have all this additional product, right? And just, again, removing the obstacles to buy. Make it easy for them to click here, click there, boom, credit card in, done, transaction, you know, or you see a lot of touchless things, Apple Pay, that kind of stuff. You just show up, hold your phone in front of it, and you've you know, completed the transaction. And the big success ingredient here is having the sales scripts for the add-ons, knowing in advance how, when you get to a certain point in the sale, can you just turn the conversation to say, well, you know what, we haven't even talked about. There's this whole other thing, and I know you've mentioned this need. What about this too? You might find this as an interesting additional thing to work on, right? So scripts for the add-ons. So the next thing I want to get to is gross margin. So now we've got all this revenue coming in. So what do we do to improve our gross margin percentage? And the big difference here is increase your prices. Now everybody's going to say, well, in a time like this, you know, we got to decrease our prices to just to keep our customers. But be careful about that. Most entrepreneurs undervalue their offerings, and their prices show it. Right? We don't charge for the full value that we're giving, and we leave money on the table. It's an absolute classic, because we get stuck into this thought process that, well, if I discount, I'll make it up in volume. Do the math. If you want, I can send you a spreadsheet that I have on this, which shows how hard it is to make it up in volume. Just discounting your business a little bit means you have to add a lot more business to make up for the discount. Versus the other way around, if you increase your prices, you can afford to lose a fair amount of customers and still be making more money than you were, and you'll have an easier operation because you'll have less transactions and be making more money with it. So it's a really interesting concept that so many people refuse to do because we don't want to talk about money. We're already too expensive. Most people don't want to buy us anyway, so why should we raise our prices? Don't keep talking yourself out of it. So why aren't you asking for more money? What's holding you back? Nobody wants to jump on this one. That's okay. Yeah, something to think about. Think through that question. Could you, on which part of your business, doesn't have to be the whole business, one part of it, where could you ask for more money? Think about why don't I do that? And, you know, of course, other strategies for improving gross margin are reducing your cost of goods sold, right? Ask for better prices, terms, and incentives from your vendors, right? People that are supplying you. Are you getting the best deal for what you're receiving? And if you have a sales team, it's all about tying incentives to profits, not to sales, right? The worst thing you can do in managing a sales force is to make them strictly have their pay strictly be tied to revenue. You want it to be profits, so they don't give it all away at a low price just to make their commission. So, so the key success ingredient here is to build customer and vendor loyalty through consistent delivery and service, right? So then you're worth what you're getting paid for, right? You have a consistent delivery and service with them. Working with your vendors, you can oftentimes negotiate with them and get better deals on the raw materials that you're using and raise your prices. You could do both of those things, your gross margins will improve a lot. Yeah, and Joanne also added that when people order from the website, they could just opt in and add right from the website. It makes it very easy to do business. Say, oh yeah, let me just add that card. Let me just add that box of chocolates with those flowers. Fits very, very easily on an online transaction. Yeah, and now the seventh thing I want to talk about here is, what about reducing our fixed cost? So the big difference here is reviewing your overhead. I mean, when was the last time that you reviewed all of your overhead and system and support costs? This is a huge thing going on right now with COVID, because people are looking at overhead like, wow, do I even need that expensive downtown real estate in Boston? You know, maybe all we need is a part-time conference room in Boston when we meet with some fancy clients, but boy, everybody can just work from home, right? So there's a lot of rethinking going on right now on office space. But what about all the other things? You know, equipment, materials. There are companies also that specialize in helping you figure out how to reduce costs. You know, that you can just bring in as a consultant, and they'll help you reduce a lot of your fixed costs. So this is something that you guys always do, haven't done, do it a lot. How often do you review your fixed costs?
I do it every year.
Very good, yeah. A lot of us don't. We just think, yeah, we just keep paying the same bills over and over again. And some things can get way out of control. So, you know, other things are outsource low-value, non-strategic activities. Should you really be doing all of the things you're doing in your business, or is there somebody that does that professionally? You know, the classic things are like washing the windows on a storefront, right? So you just have your employee run out there and do that because they have a few minutes time and they take care of it. Well, but are they doing a great job? Wouldn't they be better off working in the business, doing things to generate revenue, rather than something that you can easily hire a professional to do, usually fairly inexpensively and probably better job, right? So the success ingredient here is ensure that you're getting the highest quality service for the cost that you're paying, right? Make sure that, yeah, it's worth it. We have this program, you know, we have Verizon phone bill, you can usually negotiate with those guys, right? There's a lot of things that we pay for and we say, wow, for the quality we're getting, we're just overpaying for this, right? So make sure you have the right vendors and the right suppliers for these things, and you're negotiating with them.
And
so,
let me tell you, for shipping and stuff,
yeah,
there's a lot of wiggle room there for you know, shipping things with UPS and FedEx.
Huge.
Huge.
Very good point. Yeah. And as a friend of mine, he's a consultant. That's one of the things they work on is small package shipping. And they save their clients 20, 30% easily just by renegotiating the deals. Yeah. Great point. So now how does this all really work? So it's all about continuous improvements over time that are going to create large results, right? You don't have to double your profits. You don't have to double your revenues tomorrow. That's not the point, right? But what we're talking about here is if you can make even a 10% improvement on each of the 7 areas we talked about, and here's an example company. I'm sorry, it was supposed to come up as a build and it came up all at once. Sorry about that. But in the background behind this big red thing, you'll see there's a company's P&L at a high level P&L where we've taken each of these 7 strategies and increased them by 10%, number of visits from prospects from 1,000 to 1,100 and so forth. We've increased our conversion rate by 10%. So we've kind of increased each one of these elements by 10%, and the company goes from a $75,000 profit to a $150,000 profit. So we've nearly doubled the profits, but we've only made a 10% incremental improvement in each one of those areas. So it is possible. It's not necessarily an incredibly difficult task to double your profits if you work consistently across all these different areas. So, how do you get started? Well, the first thing is I'd suggest that you honestly answer and review your answers to the questions that we raised in this presentation. Then you want to implement some measuring techniques for where your business currently is, and so that you can document the existing conditions and know where to go from there. Implement or test an idea for improvement. Excuse me. And then measure the results of the new condition and repeat this continuously, always working on each one of these 7 areas and then you will achieve what was just shown on that simple example to be able to double your profits. So I hope you all have been able to capture some things on this action plan that I raised earlier. And so these are each of the areas we talked about that I hope you have some action plans with some due dates. And so now I'd like to just open it up to, I know we're out of time, but if everybody can stay for just a couple minutes just to hear from each other on maybe some action items that you came up with, and then we'll close out. I hope it's okay for everybody to just stick on for just a couple minutes. I know we started almost 10 minutes late, so that's the 10 minutes we need now. Sorry. So anybody have lesson learned? What'd you get out of the program? What maybe 1 or 2 action items that you might take?
Well, I have to log off very quickly, so I want to just share if that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to work on my marketing. I think the chamber provides a lot of benefits, but I don't know that I focus on that in my marketing.
Yeah.
So that's my takeaway from this. This was a really really good informative webinar, and I got a lot out of it.
Oh, thank you very much, Karen. Appreciate it.
I want to digest a little bit, but I wanted to thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Good luck, everyone.
Oh, thanks.
Good luck.
Yeah, everybody's kind of jumping off. I guess we're not going to have a chance to do that, but you will all get the Everything Disk Management, which is worth $120. So I hope you all take that. And as I mentioned earlier, send me a text if you like with your action items, and it'll help you actually make sure you implement the things that we're talking about. And so send me a text or an email if you want to have the slides separately. You'll get the recording anyway. Or if you want to follow up, happy to offer a free hour of coaching to anybody that attended here today. And by even just saying it without actually any follow-up, just the fact that you've written it out and given it to me will be one more step to help you towards actually implementing what you've been thinking about. So with that, I guess it's a wrap. Thank you very much for attending. Sorry we ran, because we started late, we ran out of time for more of the Q&A at the end. But if there's anything else, feel free to contact me at any time, and I'm happy to answer any of your questions.
Thank you, Bernie.
You're very welcome. Hope to hear from everybody soon. All right. Take care.